So then the next area to ask you about is about the brewery. Then we'll bring it together a bit. But so of this site as well, particularly this site, just wondered what your recollections were of where we're sitting.
And I knew the first woman to be employed in the bottling factory, and she was proud of her. I mustn't say the name because her son still is living in the town. She was proud of her entry into a male world of work, and particularly a male world of hard and rough work. And she was a person that you didn't actually upset. Let me explain how I knew this very quickly. Over the road at number 19 Old Cross was a newsagent's, H.C. Farnham and Son. And I had to be hidden because I wasn't quite old enough to be employed properly. But what that did for me was an enormous, really enormous, for life, bit of learning and bit of imbibing, really, because I was still there in my 30s. I just couldn't give up the paper round and opening the shop, and we had 17 rounds and the franchise of the whole of Benjo. And then suddenly I was hearing the conversation, and the shop staff were all men. And that's a bit unusual but significant, because the dialogue was different, particularly in those days. Workers from here would come across into the shop as soon as I opened it in my later years, teens and 20s, for their Greyhound Express, Morning Advertiser, that racing papers, and they'd stop and talk about betting a lot, and talk about the barrels and the drays, and the horse-drawn drays were still being used, I imagine, one or two at least, because one of the memories was from the Port Vale, as you know very well, Andrew, walking up and down a lot, is confined street, and the stables for McMullens horses were in Port Vale, opposite Russell Street, which is now part of Millmead School. Barns there and stabling at the back, and the sports ground of McMullens was behind it, which is now Millmead area. And there was a chap called Bill Ball who worked at and looked after the horses, and he was an enormous chap, and people called him the Thunderball because his voice ricocheted off the walls of those houses, and it was quite scary. It was such a booming voice, and the Port Vale residents, many of whom were tenants of McMullens because of working there, would not wind him up, but would say enough to get some kind of comment back from Thunderball, and he would bring these large horses sometimes with their medals on if they were going off somewhere. And I don't know whether it was used in the same way as the steam. What do you call it? Delivery. Oh,
they had a steam engine, didn't they?
Yes, well, they do use it now for fetes and that sort of thing. And I didn't see that in regular use ever, I have to say. But I wonder whether the horses at the stage I'm talking about were really for show, and did go out and deliver to South Mimms, because that was a trip out, as it were, but it was a show trip, or whether it was the routine. Still, I'm feeling that it was because of brasses that it was.
So was that would have been about 60 years ago, something like that?
Well, gosh, Andrew, no, that wasn't a kind thought. It's much easier to say 1960 and
what would have been the job of Thunderball? What was his job?
He then presumably was with the horses all day, having harnessed them up and taking a dray away with them somewhere. But it was the early morning scene that I got, which was leading them up from the stables here. But then all sorts of other... the population, the working population on site, was huge. Not just them, and there were the brewers who would sometimes come in with their white coats on, but it was this end, bottling factory for other things, because there was a phase when publicans would make more money on soft drinks. The profit on soft drinks was greater than it was on the alcoholic drinks, and that was a boom time. So Max did their own bottling of all sorts of things, as well as the standard casks. I will say that although a lot of them didn't like the beer,
the family or the workers,
the workers,
right.
They drank it nevertheless, and they drank and they paid for it across the bars of Max pubs. But they were, in my recollection, very loyal employees, and Max generated that loyalty through the family feel. Not only the McMullen family themselves being its kind of dynasty, but the employees felt they were part of something. There was a magazine they produced, colour magazine, picture magazine that they produced, and at Westmill, I think it may still happen, the employees, but fewer, go, and tenants as well, go to a garden party thing in the summer. But there's a great feeling of working for the firm, and that extended down to Bill Sarney and Slim Jackson and one or two other corpulent drinking people.
I just wondered what your thoughts were, because it's a bit unusual to have a famous artist in your heritage.
Yes, it's very unusual, and exploiting that is important for the artist's sake and for the art world's sake. But I'm bound to think what it can do for this town and where this town is economically, I suppose. It's not quite the expression, the everyday on the street expression, but I think it's just the perfect time, and so I think you can exploit this moment very much, and it'll feel right for the wider town, Courtyard Arts Society, you, and the theatre.